Welcome back, guys. Automotive Inc. here. If you are new to the channel, look down there in the corner and smash subscribe for me. It helps the small channel out. At the end of the video, if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to comment on anything that we talk about today. So my brother-in-law the other day had a good idea to talk about new versus old. So obviously my channel is dedicated to producing new content and information like that. Sometimes we come across a nice pre-owned vehicle like Sentinel, the big Chevy diesel. Sometimes we talk about my dad's old diesel, my LMLs and stuff like that. So I have a reason to trade or a reason to upgrade my pickup, so that way we can produce content for the channel. However, what about for just the person that buys a vehicle to enjoy it and buys a vehicle to use it, and it's a vehicle that you actually like? Does it make sense in 2024 to upgrade? So he has a 2015 Ford F-150 XLT Sport Appearance Package with the Coyote. So I dug up a 2023 brand new Ford F-150, also silver, and we're going to compare a little bit of what the MSRPs look like, some values, talk about why and everything like that. At the end of the day, really upgrading your vehicle, if you're not doing it for content, it might be a desire to just stay in a newer vehicle. There are reasons for that. There is so much more safety tech, which some people find as a flaw, some people find as a gain. For me personally, I like a majority of it, so it makes sense to want to upgrade or have some of those safety features. Other reasons might be better fuel economy, better capacity, more standard options. And depending on the time of year or the vehicle manufacturer that you're looking at, like currently right now, Ford F-150s have really decent good savings on 23 new trucks sitting on the lots. But the downfall to that is sometimes the people are asking more than MSRP. Sometimes the APRs are horrible. Right now, Ford is offering the big discount and a good APR if you have good credit. So it kind of brings down the price. But what we're going to talk today about is standard MSRP values. I'm not going to talk about if you got a deal on his truck back in the day or if this new truck you can get a deal on, because probably both. We're just going to talk about the brass tacks of things. All right. So if you're not one that needs to upgrade because you need to stay in a newer vehicle, you might have to upgrade because of mechanical concerns. The average allowable mileage per year is anywhere between 12 and 18,000 now. I would say that's 18,000 might be low for some people, depending on how far you commute for your work. So in, say, at 15, he's now in a 6-year-old truck. At 18,000, man, you can have a lot of miles. You could have in the area of 126,000 miles on the vehicle. That will later then affect the value as if you were to trade it and or sell it. So let's take a look at these window stickers and just kind of compare where it was now, where it is today. So we're not necessarily worried about what the fuel economy was back on a 2015 F-150, but in comparison, we basically put some of these in there. Now, one thing I will tell you is a 23-gallon fuel tank is pretty dinky in comparison to what the trucks have now, although that wasn't optional equipment back then, which is interesting. So we cruise over here, and this truck would have had a MSRP of $46,865. On the exterior, we have very generic standard features because, again, safety tech wasn't as, I guess, relevant, or it wasn't where it is today, obviously, but it does have some there and everything like that. Warranties have stayed roughly about the same. And again, we're not comparing fuel economy. This is mainly talking about where the values of the vehicles went today. Now, I'll let you guys stare at that for just a second. Now let's take a look at comparably equipped 2023 and where prices are. So we cruise over here. We have a 2023. Now again, a 5.0 engine now is a zero-cost engine. However, finding one is very rare, and the only 5.0 I found as our list for comparison, it was equipped way more than, say, that the 15 was. So I tried to keep it in the same one. So even though this is the upgrade for the 2.7, it does have a different gear ratio, but it does have about the same amount of like plug and play options. We can see down there that the MSRP is $57,920. Now again, we go up here and we do see we have a lot more safety tech involved. You do get the bigger Sync 12-inch screen, the Sync 4. So those are some cool things to talk about. Again, we're not talking about fuel economy, although it does get a smidge better. This is just putting it into comparison. So now we took a look at those two vehicles, very comparably equipped. Again, you always need to try and forecast your needs, meaning if you're trying to stand on the front end of a vehicle and your needs, then you need to plan ahead to get rid of the vehicle or keep it. If you decide to upgrade your trailer, you decide to downsize how many people you need to fit in the cab, maybe now an extended cab makes sense, whatever. So your needs will obviously change, but values really can change a lot. So I did some checking here. So from that 2023 to that 2015, values have increased 23%. It's about 11 grand difference. Now, we're not talking about discounts. We're just talking about base MSRPs, because I do believe there's deals to be had, and that number will kind of differentiate. But in theory, they've went up. The base MSRP has went up almost 23%. Now, with the UAW strikes and pay and everything going up, we all know that the billionaires are not going to lower their pay. And now they have to pay their workers more, which, congratulations, good for them, whatever. But that will be directly trickled down to the consumer, whether it's going to be through higher APRs, higher MSRPs. You can see that just in 7 years, it's went up $11,000. So that's quite a bit from a base truck to a base truck. Now, you might be thinking, well, why would I upgrade, right? Okay, so in his case, he's had very good luck with his F-150. He's got about 110,000 miles on it now, or maybe a little bit more, 150,000. Basic maintenance, tires, a couple things with spark plugs, a couple recalls that have been taken care of for free. Very, very minimal maintenance or expenditures had to go into that. Now, at a 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain, if you did not buy an extended warranty when you bought the vehicle, which that's a whole nother subject for debate, you have to think, okay, well, if the truck's been good enough, and the truck in its sense has done really well. So unfortunately, his truck was hit by hail a few years ago, so that's going to directly affect its resellable value if it was reported to Carfax. So I booked his personal truck, and the trade value is about $17,506, not including the fact it's going to get a ding for the hail if he was to trade it, which the low book was around $14,600. Private party value wasn't much more than that, trying to sell it outright, but you'd have to declare that to whoever, if it's been in an accident, or on good faith you should, because that can directly affect somebody's willingness to want to purchase it. So dealers are obviously going to do it. Whether or not a private party does it, it's irrelevant. But a private party value on that truck is about $18,100. So you're thinking, wow, okay, so how much change did that happen? 7 years and 115,000 miles later, not including the hail damage, how much did that truck lose? Well, that truck lost 61% of its value. So again, this is the thing I've always told people all along. If the truck's been good and you love the truck and you don't need to upgrade it, then you might as well drive the truck, continue to care for it, maintain it, and everything like that. But once you get to, say, that 60,000 miles when the powertrain wears out and you have no more warranty, you might want to start thinking about pretending you have to buy a new truck, because eventually something is going to need to be repaired besides tires. It may be a transmission. You may get 250,000 miles out of the transmission or engine. Great. But what if you don't? So whether you're going to have $1,000 a month, take a third of that, put $300 a month away in a savings account. So that way in the future, if you love your truck and you have to replace an engine or transmission, you have that money plunked away. And you aren't going, wow, now I need to trade the truck or fix it. Well, what's the value? It's worth nothing at that point. I mean, if it broke down, the value is reflected directly how much that'll cost the engine, $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever. So you really got to sit back and say, okay, well, the truck's been good, I want to keep it. Well, then start plinking some money back in the savings account. And if you do have to replace the truck, you have a huge amount of down, but it doesn't have interest, so you don't lose your money. You're saving it for yourself, and the engine's ready to be repaired. And if for some reason it never goes, you can drive this thing till infinity and beyond. Then you have a pretty good chunk in your savings that you can use for whatever you decide. All vehicles are going to lose value, and that's why when people sit back and say, well, a truck's a tool, I don't have to really care for it as much. I've heard every explanation in the book why people trash their cars, because to them it's just a tool, it's just a means to an end. It's directly going to affect your value long-term or short-term, and that's something you always have to be thinking of, because cars are the only thing you can buy and depreciate the second you buy them. A house usually appreciates as long as you keep it in good standing, but vehicles, they actually just tend to fall like $5,000-6,000 as soon as you drive them off the lot. Now, a year or two ago, which we hope that never repeats, the way the world was, we had shortage on cars. There was a weird industry raise in prices, and if you go to Craigslist or anywhere else, you'll find people are still asking wonky prices for pieces of crap. So could somebody sell this truck for a little bit more than that 18 grand? Probably not now. Maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit more, but then again, mileage would have been down and everything like that. But everything that you do directly affects the value of the vehicle. So for me, again, I needed to trade it and keep moving forward. And there's some vehicles I really loved and some vehicles I don't love as much. But if you really love your vehicle and you don't feel that you need to trade it out as often, then, I would suggest you probably hold on to it as long as it's fitting your needs. It's been dependable. Now, if it's a nickel and dimer, if you're always fixing the thing, think about how that breaks down. Yeah, it might cost you $400 a month to maintain it, but your car, if you bought a new one, your car payment would be $800. Keeping in mind, you might be paying $400 to maintain this vehicle and keep it running, but it's depreciate to the fact where it has no value. So once you finally decide I can't nickel and dime anymore, the car's really not going to be value if it's already having that many problems going down the road. His experience with his F-150 has been excellent. Some people's experience with F-150s has been bad. Some people's experience with Chevy Ram, etc., and so on has been poor. Some have been great. Every vehicle is going to need some type of maintenance. There are flukes, crazy bits of nature where people have said, I've went 500,000 miles in this vehicle and I've only changed tires and brake pads. That's fantastic. I would not say that's probably the norm or the majority. But, at the end of the day, when we look at truck for truck, does it make sense? Where values fall, how they're raising. I guarantee you in 2 more years, they'll probably outmode diesel. So diesel trucks will then dip in value substantially. And I think that, electric vehicles, they're not going to hold their values very well. And I think at the end of the day, no vehicle holds its value great, but you will lose. You're very seldom going to gain in a vehicle. The only way you'd gain is if somebody just gave you a vehicle. Then you obviously could then use that as a trading chip or whatever. But I think that those values are going to be very comparable. Again, for me, I like the new safety tech. I like being able to produce and present information for you guys on the channel. But to sit back and say, does it make sense in 2023? Right now, if you don't get a good APR with Ford or GM or whoever, and those terms are usually going to be fairly short, 60 months or less to get those incentivized rates, the interest rates probably wouldn't make sense to even upgrade. Now, again, if you're looking at a $57,000 vehicle, hopefully you're in a position with your credit and yours and everything to get something like that so you can actually get a good rate. But they were telling me the other day that somebody went in and signed on a $105,000 pickup. They signed a 22% interest rate. I don't know what somebody would have been thinking in that respect. Maybe their needs needed it, but oh my gosh, you'd be losing your tail in that. So right now, even if you can get a good discount on Ford, if your rate's over, say, 7%, I would probably and strongly encourage you to hold on to your vehicle. But on the flip side of that, the vehicle's been kind of a turd, then I think that it would benefit you to start looking, find the best deal that you can, and hopefully the value will hold on your vehicle. But do be prepared for that, and don't be expecting, the sun and the moon, because you've seen these crazy values all over the internet. Guys, that was a while back. So unless you have a unicorn, a 12-valve Cummins with 60,000 miles on it, your 395,000 mile Cummins that has torn seats and floor mats, that's not excellent. You're not going to get $35,000, $40,000 for that. You have that 30,000 mile, 40,000 mile Cummins, you might be able to step up into the wow range, good thing, but then it comes all down to condition and care and everything like that. But for me, I would absolutely upgrade. But that's me, and I got a good rate and I got a sweet deal off this truck. But for most, because he's had great luck with his, I don't think he has any desire to step out of his F-150. Again, the longer you keep a vehicle that you hate, the more the value is going to drop. Irregardless if you love it or hate it, it's going to continue to drop. It's just never going to make any sense. And so if you watch trends of car values, you watch values and interest rates, you can sometimes get ahead of this game. But keep in mind also, when you go buy these vehicles, regardless if you get a discount, you're most likely going to tack on some type of taxes. In Colorado, we pay sales tax on the difference, say on the total value of this. So you would pay taxes on $57,000 right there. If you don't put any money down, that's inequity. It's going right on top. So as soon as you roll off the dealership, you lose $5. You just added another $3 or $4 to it. You have negative equity on trade. You just added $4, $5, $10,000 to it. You're now flipped upside down. Even though it lost $6,000, you just tacked on 10. You lost $16,000 in value. So you really gotta be very prepared, be informed when you go in and make these decisions, because unless your need is a mandated need, your desire or want may be easily superseded if you just take a step back and say, well, this has been a great vehicle. I actually love the seats. I actually like the looks. I don't need any more safety tech. I love the engine. Fuel economy is good. If there's no direct benefit to you and say this thing's paid off, I don't see any benefit in upgrading at all. And that would be my 2 cents on this. So hopefully that helps somebody out there in the universe when they're thinking about, should I upgrade, should I not? I see deals, don't see deals, APRs are crazy, whatever. Sometimes just sit back and enjoy that paid off truck or paid off vehicle and just keep racking up the miles and keep praying that the engine doesn't blow and you're stuck with a $5,000 bill at the end of that day. But if you follow some of that advice that I said about earlier, putting some money away, I think that holding onto a vehicle in today's economy may make sense if you absolutely don't need it. Thanks a lot, guys, for being here. We'll see you on the next one.